Okay, so here's the 10 items that I had Kate work with tonight. She took pictures of these 10 items. This one was kind of cool. It's a, I don't know, I call it a dealer promo car, but this actually is more like a tin toy, and it's got a battery compartment. I didn't notice that. Of course, the front wheels are gone. I tried to test it, but when I peek in there, it didn't work actually. When I peek, and a lot of them don't, for various reasons. The battery compartments on these, they get corroded. This one isn't, but they're loose sometimes. And there's an actual motor in there with wires and stuff that when you turn it on in the back, it takes off on you. So that's kind of cool. So this is what I'm listing. We're going to talk about dollar figures for the junk jaunt and everything business-wise around the junk jaunt that I talked about yesterday. Today on The Crazy Picker Life with Wheeler, Dealer, and Banana Peeler. Welcome, fellow pickers and would-be adventurers. Dealer here, Wednesday, Crazy Picker Life. Talk about the business aspects of a long-term picking. Now, a lot of people go picking daily, a few times a week, once a week. I don't know what our average is. We have a few picking opportunities around here. There's a few thrift stores. There's a few antique stores. I would say on average I go 1 or 2 times a week around here. With rummage sale season, probably 1 or 2 times a week is still a good average. When I have a lot of stuff, like this time of the year, of course we're buried with camera stuff. That's a given. We have a bunch of watches, and I'm buried with stuff that I like to list. And so typically I will not stop. Now, should I still stop? I probably should, and pick up the gravy. The gravy is always good. It really doesn't matter how deep you are in stuff. If you're out there anyway, you should go pick up the gravy. And by gravy, I mean the things that I buy for $5 to $50 that I make 5 or 10 times my money on. Those are gravy. Some of them are better than others. I mean, I picked up one of these eggshell phone booths a few years back for 50 bucks and sold it for 600. That's gravy. I don't want to miss out on that if it's there, so I probably should stop. But anyway, getting way off track. Easy to do when you don't have an itinerary. This is teleprompter free. For sure. So we went to the junk jaunt this last weekend, and we were out of the office for 4 days, and I wanted to give you a glimpse on what that looks like on paper and how, mostly on the fly, but definitely more early on. And by early on, I mean like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I needed to make sure that these overnight adventures made sense, right? When you're gone 4 days, you're either, there's a couple things that you want to make sure of. If this is a picking trip where you're trying to make this a business decision, right? First of all, you're out of the office. So if you're working part or full time, you're not working at your job. Are you getting vacation pay at least, right? Is that a wash? For us, when we leave the office, we're not typically shipping orders. We're not typically listing items, although we've done both while we've been gone. And a lot of times that's too much pressure. I mean, you can list some things on the road. You can run your orders close to when you're going to get back so you can start them up. Or like we did this last time, out of the office for 4 days. 3 were during the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I actually changed all my listings to 3-day shipping instead of 1 day, or 3-day handling instead of 1 day handling, and I didn't get too many complaints. So, and the other thing I did to buffer that is I was not running any sale prices Wednesday and Thursday, but on Friday I started up a sale, so people didn't buy as much on Wednesday or Thursday. Friday was busy, Saturday was busy, Sunday was busy, Monday was crazy for us packing packages. If I got them all out, we were near 70, and that's a lot. That's good, you know. We didn't have to turn it off, but it's a little like not running for 5 or 6 days and then trying to go out and run hard for 15 miles or 20 miles. You can do it, but it might make your day a hard day, and it was a hard day. So you need to look, though, at that. I mean, you're going to be out of your home, and so there's that. The other thing you need to look at is the expenses that you're going to spend when you're on the road. That is an actual expense. And disclaimer, I am not giving accounting advice. I'm not giving CPA advice. I'm probably not even giving bookkeeping advice. But when I go out on the road, many of my expenses are tax deductible. With that said, you still have to look at expenses. If you are gone for 4 days and you spend more than you make, it's not a good business decision, even if they're deductible, right? Basic advice: don't spend more than you make. Don't, don't, if you're the cook in the kitchen, don't eat all the cookies. Make a bunch of cookies, eat all the cookies. Net result is no cookies for anyone else. Simple. So your expenses, you want to know where they're at. You want to keep those in check. The other thing that you want to look at is, am I buying enough stuff, and am I buying stuff at enough of a margin to make not only the expenses I'm spending, but the time away worth it? And so early on, I personally, and when Wheeler or Banana Peeler or Squealer went with me, when my sons went with me, we would lean to the side of caution on the expenses. We still would put on the miles. The miles were, when you don't know where you're going exactly, the miles go higher. Now that we've been on these particular adventures, we know where to go. We don't have to drive up and down and all around. We actually drive less miles. But when we originally went, we did not eat at nice places. We did not choose to have a nice dinner. What we did is we cheap Charlied it. And we brought some food. We brought more food. We didn't stay at nice hotels. If we stayed at a hotel, it was lower class. And a lot of times, if we're gone 4 days, we would stay in the van 2 or 3 days and stay in a hotel 1 day. It wasn't until we knew the numbers. It wasn't until we knew we could make it. It wasn't until we were making it completely in the business that we would spring for some of those expenses, right? And this trip that we just did, this junk jaunt, this 4-day trip, for me it was a chance, a couple things, but it was a chance to bond with my teenage sons. Important, very important. Really like doing that. It was a time to teach them some things about life and the business, and kind of experience how they're experiencing things out there. You know, Banana Peeler, we got a small town. We sort of have a different way of interacting with everybody, but Banana Peeler turned a few heads. Some girls looked at Banana Peeler, and of course, same with Wheeler, right? So we get to kind of talk about that. You know, what are you looking for in a long-term mate? So, you know, that kind of stuff sort of happens, and you know, there's some opportunities around our town and some things like that, but it's kind of interesting. Oh, funny days. Funny days. But the other side of that is I was hoping to find some cool stuff. Now, it was more fun for us Could I have loaded the van up 3 times more? I mean, we bought a bunch of stuff, but I could have bought 3 times more stuff. The second and the third, the first third of stuff that we bought would have been the stuff we bought anyway right now. That's really good stuff. And then I could have bought another 2/3 as much, 3 times, twice as much of stuff that would have been, you know, okay stuff. It would have been money makers, but it wouldn't have necessarily been premium. Now some would say, and I wouldn't tell you a lie, some of the stuff we bought was not A-grade stuff, but let's say 75% of the stuff we bought, I think, for the prices we paid, was A-grade stuff. The other 25% varied all over the map. I mean, some of it was A+ stuff, right? If there was a higher grade than A+, it would be A++ stuff. At least 3 or 4 or 5 items were A++. And as far as cool factor, some were pretty cool. So we did that. We don't necessarily need any more inventory. Now the other thing, before I get into the numbers, and I think all this is important, whether you're a single, one-person, online eBay type business, or whatever service you use to sell your stuff, or you're a bigger shop, you always need to look at, am I buying enough stuff, or am I not buying enough stuff to list? And as you start looking at that, and your months start coming out where you can show, this month I made $500, all free and clear. This month I made $5,000, all free and clear. This month I made $10,000, all free and clear. Once you start putting some of those numbers down and analyzing, and you know, the other thing you need to do is you need to keep buying better stuff. Better profit, higher priced. Now if you, I mean, let me give you an example. If you buy a $1 item and sell it for 10, you can do that, and that's pretty good. If you're buying $5 items and selling them for 10, you got a lot smaller margin and you got a lot more cash in it. If you're buying $5 items and selling them for 50, that's pretty good. If you're buying $35, $40 items and selling them for 50, that's not too good. Your margin is pretty tight. If you're buying $25 items and selling them for 100, that's pretty good. Good margin, you know. If you're spending $75 and selling them for 100, you're getting too tight. So anyway, upgrade your stuff, but at a certain point, you're going to buy more stuff than you can list, and that's when you got to really start analyzing where you're going, where your time is being spent. You know, you can't work all the time, so you got to keep that reeled in. You want to have a life, and then you need to upgrade your place as you go, upgrade your stuff, spend more time picking for better stuff, spend less time picking for better stuff. I mean, you got to analyze all those things, right? If we went picking every week for 4 days, and then we were back in the office for 3 days, and one of those days was a day off, Sunday, and so we only had 2 days to list, we better be picking up darn good stuff, because we don't have a good picking days to listing ratio. In the early days, we would go to Denver probably once every 2 weeks, and we ended up buying too much stuff because we would throw in some other trips there, like to the junk jaunt and the treasure hunt and city rummage sales and a few things like that, and we ended up buying too much stuff. We had to reassess, and I'm a strong believer in having at least a few weeks of back stock to list, in case you don't feel like getting out of the house, in case the weather changes, in case something happens where you got to stay close to home, whatever. Even if something like that happens, typically you can list a few hours a day just to kind of get away from whatever's going on. You know what I'm saying? So it pays to have some back stock. Now, if you have 2 years of back stock, like we might, that might be too much, unless you're getting, unless there's some other circumstances that make that seem like that's a good decision. I won't get into my reasons. I've talked about them a little bit. I've got a tiger by the tail. Pretty soon I may have to let that tiger go, and I may never find another one, but there's a point where you know where that tiger is gonna bite you and you better let him go, and you better put your guard up. Anyway, that's a whole different story. So you'll have to weigh all those things. We're not going all over in different tangents here. This can't be an hour video. I've got some listing to do tonight and just some sanity. Plus I'm binge watching a new Netflix show, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So we went on this 4-day trip. I'm gonna show you the numbers and talk about them a little bit. It's not that complicated. For your own situation, it's really how does it fit into your own situation. And then, you know, you get all this stuff back to your shop, back to your house, back to your whatever, and you got to process it, right? You got to list it, clean it up, picture it, sell it, pack it up, store it, inventory, whatever. I mean, there's a number of steps to turn it back into cash. And if you pick all the time and don't list all at all, you know, then you're a hoarder. So the picking part is just the front end. That's pretty basic. The dealer, pick well, list often. So is 4 days picking well? Well, you can pick well for 4 days. However, it does take a different mindset. A lot of people go out for an afternoon. A lot of people go out for a couple hours. Some people go out all day. We have been doing day trips for a long time. I was on my hotels.com account and I was looking back at what the hotel cost us on the junk jaunt, and one of the choices was to look back and it said review your last 57 bookings. I'm like, oh my goodness, we've had 57 separate bookings, many of them multiple days. That seems like a lot. I guess we're a gold member. So we take a lot of day trips, and we have been taking a lot of multiple day trips over the last 4 or 5 years or whatever that is. That's a lot. And we make it work. You know, we make it work. And traveling, it's kind of a weird angle. It's kind of like let me see here. Yeah, it feels a little better. We make it work, and when we travel, we typically have fun. We used to have fun in the old days for different reasons. We were sleeping in the van, bringing food, just getting along. Now we have fun that way too. We have fun picking, and we typically stay in nice places. We do some fun activities. We eat at reasonable places, not all the time. Sometimes we explore pretty nice places. We don't hold back a lot, you know. Why? I mean, we do all right. We enjoy it a little bit. And, you know, along the way I teach the kids a lot of lessons about buying stuff for themselves, getting shoes and certain things at wholesale, hardly ever paying retail for anything, which most people won't catch this, but since you're at the middle of the video and you're watching intently, I bought a bus today. That's right. Dealer bought a school bus. Oh my gosh. 30 passenger, one of the small school buses. I probably will show it on the vlog. I bought a school bus. Oh my gosh. Enough said. I probably won't show it on the vlog. Just if you're an avid watcher and listener, crazy picker life. I don't know if it'll be our picking vehicle or a camping vehicle, or if it'll just be storage or a office on wheels sitting in my lot. I don't know, but whatever. There you go. Oh my gosh. Crazy, 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 crazy. Everybody in the family's happy about it, so it must be the right decision. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what. Even my wife Lon was like, What am I gonna say? Well, she was the one that told me about it, by the way, a few weeks ago, and I just happened to stumble on it today, and it was like, okay, that looks good. Let's look at it. Let's start it. Let's buy it. Okay. Got a problem, don't I? JJ trip, junk trip, 4 days out of the office. All right, so here's the whole ball of wax. Let's run down this. Hotel, 3 days in a hotel. It's 4 days, 3 nights. Hotel, $300. That was about what it was, $298 something with tax. I got a reasonable deal on a reasonably nice hotel. Okay, I gotta give Sis a hug goodnight. Okay, so we stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. They had a nice breakfast. Rooms were reasonable. We didn't use the pool. They didn't have a restaurant right there. But all in all, nice place, good place. Food, $270 is what I came up with. We had a nice lunch in Hays, Kansas. I did buy a few growlers of beer and brought some home, so that's in there. We had a couple nice meals out and a couple so-so meals, and then breakfast at the hotel. Gas, $1.95, that's an estimate, 980 miles, 15 miles per gallon, estimate 65 gallons. We were paying $3 a gallon for gas in Nebraska. That was not so exciting. They must have a gas tax up there of some kind, because it wasn't quite that much when we came home. So that's an estimate, $195. Inventory, I spent $2,207. And so that snuck up on me. We spent some pretty good bucks on things. Roughly $3,000 when you add that up. I think it's shy by a few dollars. So my goal when I spend $3,000 on a trip like this is to triple my money. That's $9,000. That's 9,000 gross sales. Shipping, it might be in there, might not be in there. I mean, it you know, that's relative. I'm not going to necessarily get into that strategy. Sometimes we charge shipping, sometimes we don't. $9,000 minus $3,000, gross $6,000. Profit, that's my goal. Obviously there's eBay expenses, PayPal expenses, boxes, packing materials, pay wheeler, whatever. So, you know, that's where we're at. This is a good trip. Could you live on that after all those expenses are out? Well, maybe for a couple weeks. Maybe that's like 2 weeks or something. I mean, I wouldn't want to live on that for all said and done for more than that, but everybody's got their way to do it. How long is it going to take to process that stuff? I don't know. I don't know. I've been going pretty gun-ho at it here, trying to get 10 items up, 10 items a night. I think I'm still working on some of the items from the treasure hunt 2 weeks ago, and then I've got some new items out here. I'm really listing mostly the items that I can have Kate picture first, keep her busy, and then I've got some things, you know, I got to definitely like get these Bose speakers listed, and I still have a few of the printers to list, which is just shame on me. I did sell one of the printers. I think I mentioned that. I sold one for $380. So that's good. $380 free shipping. Let's not exaggerate. But still, you know, that's one of, I don't know, 8, 9, or 10 printers, so that's really good. Okay, it's not the best printer, it's not the worst printer that I have. So, will we do better than that? Will we not? We have at least, I could take 4, maybe 5 of the items we have, and those 4 or 5 items are going to total up to $2,000 gross by themselves, and then there's literally 100 other items or more by the time you add camera items, which we're going to do really good on the camera items. There's good watch items, and there's good general items. It's a good mix. It would be a good mix. If every pick was like that, that would be a pretty good mix. Wheeler would have enough to do. I would have enough to do. But typically we buy a lot more cameras when we go out. That's why this trip is a little bit different. There's a good balance of things. It's like when we go to the flea market, there's a good balance of things. When we go right down the center, hut hike, looking for cameras, oh my gosh, we can get cameras and camera stuff like no tomorrow. So that's a whole different deal. Okay, let me think if there's anything else I should touch on here. Really, it's not that in-depth. It's not that complicated. But you take this, and there would be ways to track it if you really want to. And I look back on some of my tracking and spreadsheets and things like that I used to do. I used to try to come up with a rough number of how much we would sell stuff for and how long it would take us to list it, and roughly how long, how many weeks, months, years in some cases on some items, how long would it take to sell it. And when I say rough, I had to do rough things because you can spend a lot of time analyzing and not get a huge return on that analyzing. I mean, you want to understand enough so you know, hey, is this viable for me? How far out do I have to go? What events do I need to go to? Am I better sticking locally? Am I better going far away? Can I travel? Can I go anywhere? The conclusion that Wheeler and I came to is we pretty much can go anywhere and make enough money to make that trip worthwhile. Now, with that said, we've been on the road and went on literally a couple hundred trips. And if you're new to this, that might not work out. It took us trips where we would start at 8 o'clock in the morning and pick until the thrift stores closed at 10 o'clock at night in order to make it. We had a few trips where we would go to city rummage sales and we might spend $400 and we would not necessarily be satisfied with that day. We would find some good things, and we would find some bulk things, like, things that are not quite as high a profit, but it just wouldn't feel like that was going to be enough for the week. And so we stopped doing those unless we go for fun. And typically now I won't go very far for rummage sales. I'll do them locally. If I go to another town out of my area, I may try to narrow down where I want to go, and I will go to rummage sales if they're where I'm at or on my way. And sometimes I'll go to city rummage sales in another city, and I'll try to eyeball the neighborhoods that I think are vintage stuff as opposed to like baby clothes stuff. So I kind of have a method to that, but for the most part we stopped doing that, And then we started other avenues where we could find higher price stuff, better vintage stuff, more stuff to negotiate on, bigger lots of stuff, all that kind of stuff, right? More oddball stuff that most people don't list on eBay but are still desirable, all that kind of stuff, We don't do a lot of retail arbitrage. We do some, whatever it takes. But like with our trip, if you're going to do trips like this, you need to make sure, A, you're making money, and then B, once you get past that, am I making enough dollars per hour? Am I making enough where I want to be? Is there a better pond to fish in? Should I fish in this pond and another pond? Is this my big pond? Is this my small pond? Pretty soon you got plenty of ponds to go to, and for us, there was no pressure. The pressure was to have fun. That was it. And we went out and had fun and found good stuff. So kudos to the crazy pickers. Oh, this has got to come off. It's getting to be that time. I won't do it when I'm doing vlogs. One more vlog tomorrow, and then this is coming off, and nobody's going to see me except my wife will be happy for a few days or weeks or whatever. And then when I pop back in, you won't notice the difference. When I pop back in with my new bus, it's funny strategy with the bus. it's got enough school bus stuff on it and seats in it and all that kind of stuff, and none of that stuff, I mean, some of it's probably medium, people want it, you know, to replace broken parts on their bus, their school bus, but we're going to resell half the stuff that's on the bus. And then of course we're going to have to retrofit some covers for bus lights and the bus sign that flips out, and the seats, we're going to have to keep some of those and do some things with them, and the door mechanism that you sit in your chair and pull the door open and shut, we get rid of that. I don't know if that's sellable or not, but we'll find out. Pull the letters off, decide what color to paint it, go to town, there we go. Choo choo, the crazy train is leaving the station. I'm hoping I can pull my Jeep with the thing. Are you thinking, dealer? It's got a big old bad old diesel. It's a medium-sized bus. Who knows? I'll have to do some research. Okay, well, if I've missed anything that's a burning question on our picking trips, you can let me know down below. You can leave a comment, all that kind of good stuff. Thumbs up. Somebody asked a question. What do you do end of month? They noticed that a few days ago I said October 1st, end of month. I got 65 orders to pack. It's end of month. I got stuff laying all over the place. I've got Uline order. By the way, oh my gosh. That's one of the places I stacked boxes. We've got a Uline order that's coming. What the heck do you do end of month? Can you give us a rundown? Well, I keep lots of different little statistics. I keep statistics on how many things Wheeler lists. I keep statistics on all the details according to money, sales on each of our channels. I keep statistics on if our sales are up, sales are down. Somebody said, you know, that their PayPal keeps a lot of statistics, and I put that on my list of things to look at, you know. So we have, and we have I have 6 PayPal accounts, and a couple of them are business and a couple of them are not business accounts, even though I use them for business, and a few of them are, you know, personal accounts that I use for personal, and so they all have different reports. I know that for a fact. I'll look into that a little bit, but it's not 100% cut and dry. So however you're keeping your own statistics, there may always be a better way. There may always be more reports. You can hire somebody. You don't have to hire somebody. You know, you can be an IT genius. You can be a you know, spreadsheet genius, whatever. I don't mind when people give me advice, but when it comes down to it, whatever you do, just, you know, make sure you're not spending all day on it, and derive some information that can help you make better decisions. That's what it comes down to. Somebody also mentioned some real detailed information on reducing the time to list items by taking pictures, and they gave some, you know, good advice about how to do that and not have to crop them and all that kind of stuff. You know, taking the pictures certainly is time consuming, and if you can shave some time off, that's good. For me, listing is not necessarily about speed listing, and all my items are different. Wheeler's items are different. Some it's hard to find a valuation on an item, and that takes the most time. You can look it up on eBay. If it's not there, you can look it up on Google. A lot of times Wheeler has rare accessories, and if he can identify them, and they're not always on eBay or Google, you have to go a little deeper to camera sites and whatever. If you can identify them, they're worth money. If you can't identify them, they ain't worth much. And so that's a time consumer. You know, we're not robots either, so I pay Kate to do pictures. She's not a robot either, but you know, she's in a point in her career where she needs to do a little bit more of robotic stuff to realize that that's only part of it, and maybe, you know, maybe she should strive for more. Banana Peeler's doing a good job packing. I'm hoping that someday he'll strive for for more than that, and I know he's way more creative and smarter than that, but everybody starts there. For me, when I listing is kind of like a dance. I do it, I get through it, I try to enjoy looking up my items. I get a little creative sometimes in my descriptions. I got one eye on my Netflix and my binge, whatever I'm watching. So I'd rather enjoy it than make $1 million and not enjoy it. So if you're in your part of your career where you're grinding it, you got goals, you got bills to pay, you really want to go to town, hey, you got to do that. I had parts in my life and my career, buying and selling and other things, where I had to bust ass, and I had to find ways to bust ass, and then I found ways to pass some of that along and just chill out on some of that. So smarter, not harder. And don't think I don't work, and don't think that you don't have to work to make it in this business. It's all work, you know. When you enjoy it, it's less work. Okay, I am going to do a talk tomorrow about luck. I think that's a subject that I can talk about and make interesting and valuable. I'm going to try to look up, I know Brian Tracy does you can probably look it up. Brian Tracy, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, probably did one of the better talks on success and luck that I can remember. I think there's been a few other people who do relatively simpler. I mean, you know, people like Zig Ziglar. There's another guy, Les Brown, I think was one. There's some others. It's in the tip of my tongue. Can't think of it. There's others, but a lot of people treat their situation as a crappy situation, and any other situation besides theirs, somebody who's made it, it must be luck. That's the stereotypical idea of somebody that's successful. They must have got lucky, and of course I'm going to break that down. Why it's, you know, you make your own luck, basically. I'm aware of how it happens. It's, you know, I brought up luck a couple times in the last few weeks, and I partially got chastised on it, you know, a little bit. So whatever. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you watching and sitting in with me. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and pick well and list often. Pick well and list often. Pick well, list often. PWLO. Boy, it took me a long time to even get my own acronym. Dealer out.
Hey, Wheeler.
Dealer Production.